Good morning, I hope you hear me well. So, certification, right? I think we have a couple of discussions now about certification. We are happy to start these discussions. And that's why I think I need to give a quick introduction to what certification actually means for us, right? So when we talk about certification, then it is in the context of Open RAN, the idea to validate a solution to a certain degree that an operator doesn't need to do, and you do it just once, or not that often at least, and you do it in a controlled environment like the i14y lab, for example, and that enables operators to make use of a solution that is already pre-tested to a certain degree. A lot of troubleshooting already took place in the labs, and you have much less to worry about being an operator, and being a vendor, hopefully you save some cost because you do the things once and not 100 times at each operator lab. So that's the basic idea about certification. We have two certification systems frameworks that are currently emerging, one from O-RAN Alliance and one from the Telekom Infra project, right? They aim a little bit on different aspects of a product life cycle, and we hope that both of them will become quite normal in the future. So that was about certification as such. I hope it helps you to understand the whole number of sessions that are coming now. I was thinking about how I can start such an exciting topic like certification, which is quite theoretical in the moment, in an entertaining way. I really didn't find a way to do it. I had an idea about i14y, and I would like to start with this analogy. So i14y is almost becoming 3 years now, right? I still remember when the birthday cake of the first birthday was cut, which was a great moment. So now thinking a little bit, maybe 3 years is not much in the industry, right? If you transfer that to cat or dog years, which is, in my understanding, 7 years, right? Then I would say i14y lab is now just becoming a young adult, right? And I think being a young adult, you went through a lot of mystery, surprises, a lot of things to happen, and you hopefully found your way. And I would say i14y now, my understanding is it found its way to certification in a way that certification is definitely something i14y needs to drive in the ecosystem. But it doesn't need to drive that alone. We need definitely to have our dear friends from the vendors here to drive this with us. And this is then the discussion we will have today with our friends here on the past, the expectations, the present, and the future of certification. And I would like to introduce the colleagues here while I ask the first question. And although you are the most far away from me, Jan-Peter, I would start with you. So Jan-Peter is the head of the Eurolab of Ericsson, close to Aachen, right? And I hope I can call you an industry veteran. And you saw already a couple of Gs, right? I would assume you started with 2G in your career, and you saw all of these different technologies emerging. And I think you also experienced already what we try to do now maybe a couple of times. And I would like to ask you, so from your perspective, having seen all that and now seeing this Open RAN buzz still going around, and now the approach with certification, how would you compare that to, let's say, what happened in the former Gs from your perspective?
Yes, absolutely. So thanks for calling me a veteran. I think we have few here. But indeed, I mean, 30 years in the mobile network industry, all with Ericsson. I mean, something went wrong in my career. Actually, I think something went very right. But I think it's good to reflect a little bit because what we do here right now with Open RAN is not completely new. It's a challenge, but we have had this challenge on the way to maturing mobile telephony. And when we look back in the early days, we called it GSM, that was 2G or even before. We had a very similar situation, very premature interfaces. There were interfaces specified, but all the vendors, and there were many vendors those days, needed to understand how to implement those interfaces. And those days, what we did big interoperability sessions across the vendors to make sure when we bring our products to the first customers, that they would at least be able to talk to each other. So very high-level functional interoperability. Unfortunately, we learned the years after that it's not only about function, it's a lot about load, it's a lot about characteristics, it's a lot about unforeseen things in the network, because that creates problems, not the foreseen things, difficult enough. but the unforeseen. And then we went through phases of big problems in these networks, which we learned. So I think certification, not in our today's definition, but interoperability was really important and remains to be super important as we bring very complex technology from different vendors to our customer.
Thank you. I think that shows that certification is definitely something we should go for to come then also to 6G and 7G probably, right? So if we needed it in 2G and 3G as well. So let's move to Reiner. So Reiner is the global sales executive for DETAG from Fujitsu, right?
Right.
And thinking about Fujitsu and O-RAN, I would say you emerged on the global stage of RAN with O-RAN, if I can say so, right? And so for us, you are more a new kid on the block, but I think you already had a lot of customer interaction. We know a lot of projects where you are part of. And from that experience that you already gathered, what is your view on certification of O-RAN Alliance and TIP? What does it make? What does it help you with?
Okay, thank you. So new kid on the block sounds as we are a rookie. Yeah? So we are not, to give you this as an information and to correct you. So because Fujitsu has a long history in telecommunication, and that's what most of the people don't know, and even also the MMOs or the other companies don't know. So we are experienced in the RAN portfolio since 1995. And mostly we are worked in that time, even also in the US, and we supported even also the big ones, as like Ericsson, Nokia, and so during that past time, right? So, but you are right, so with Open RAN, we are strengthening our activities, and therefore, if it comes to certification itself, you know, the process you must go to the certification is, from our view, important. That means we think that the valuable part for success is the process themselves. Getting a certification is bringing people together, and this is a valuable part, and even also an operational challenge we must go through in the lab environment. That means you can discover their individual integration and certification problems there, and out of these, not every single operator has to do it by themselves. And this is even also occurring advantages there, right? As for example, it is cost effective for that. You can test with different partners. As well, you can prepare for different various portfolio items there, and you can extend these even also to, for example, SMO, RIG, or for different RREPs, so that you can include these. And for sure, you use the effort for every single operator there for the integration work before they go live, right? And we have seen that not every provider is ready yet. So therefore, the operators have a big advantage before they take their decisions, or they set their decision criteria when they start this journey.
Okay, and I think you underlined that by also being part of i14y lab activities, right, which is great.
That
and
was even also an experience about the past years, and even also about the integration we did together with here in Germany or in Europe, or even also abroad in US with other customers, right?
Yeah, we come to that. Wait a second. Okay, so Nitin, you are the VP Sales of VVDN, right? And I think Ericsson is well known, Fujitsu is also well known. Reiner told us currently we have a long legacy already with Fujitsu that we weren't aware of. So, but how about VVDN? I think, I don't try again to say new kid on the block, maybe I'm wrong again. Yeah, but I would like to let you explain what does VVDN, and then in that context also, what are your early experiences when it comes to certification?
Sure. So thanks, Holger, for giving me the opportunity. VVDN stands for Voice Video Data Networks. As the name suggests, we are into voice, we are into data, we are into video. Right? We are an engineering and manufacturing house based out of India. Today, we are having a workforce of more than 12,000 people. Out of that, 6,000 are working into R&D sector only. right? We develop a lot of products. We are not a brand. We work with the brands. We work with OEMs. We work with tier ones. We work with system integrators, right? We design and develop custom hardware, custom software product for these companies, right? Today, we are working on multiple products across for the telecom sector. We work on radios, starting from your private 5G radios to the massive MIMO kind of radios. We work on RIC kind of platforms. We are having FTTH solutions. We are having Wi-Fi access points, CPs, all across the globe, right? So we supplied more than 2 million devices to one of the Indian operators into telecom field, right? Telecom products that we already supplied. And we are working globally now with a different set of customers, right? And our customer, starting from everywhere, both these gentlemen standing left and right of me are my customers somewhere, directly, indirectly, right? So we work very on a scratch, right? That if somebody having some idea, we give it a shape to it in terms of the hardware, software, prototyping, and manufacturing. We are having in-house manufacturing facilities, right? So we are completely vertically integrated company, can able to do all kind of your PCB assemblies, all kind of mechanicals and everything, right? Today, we operate from 11 different design centers spread across India, and we are having global presence, global sales offices, right, in North America, Canada, Europe, and Japan, South Korea, and all places. When we come to certification, yes, certification gives us a lot of chance, lot of reliability factors to showcase the product, right, to the world.
Thank you. And when you say that these guys are your customers, I think it's very important that you tackle the topic of certification, because then these guys shouldn't have any big issue with it, right? So that would be the hope. So let's continue the good work there. So let's now move a little bit to what's going on in the moment, after we had a look into the past already. Jan Peter, so in Ericsson, yeah, we all know that there are big deals across the Atlantic between Ericsson and AT&T, for example, right? And could you inform us a little bit on what's going on there when it comes to O-RAN and also when it comes to the testing part where certification makes sense?
Yeah, so that's correct. I think it's good to see as an industry that we enter now in the phase that big operators are making massive investments, so that the investments which vendors have taken upfront are converging into commercial business. And that's super important, because we are investing, we all together in this market, investing a lot of money into this technology. And it's of course important that now operators start to take stand and start to introduce. You talked about AT&T, there's other operators in the US. And then again, in the US, there is a operator-led consortia. I think there's even two, one of two big tier one operators, one of the tier one operators, one of the tier two operators, which get also enormous amount of public money to invest into these type of, call it integration certification environment. So what they're doing, they are grouping a lot of vendors around them. They take a different focus in their integration, and then they bring the vendors to the table and then make sure that these products are interoperable, which is super important and which will pay off for the whole industry. Because, I mean, this is a great environment where we can work together and that get these products work towards each other. I think the next step is more broader certification. So if we have stability and maturity into these interfaces, we of course need to invite a lot of more vendors from the ecosystem, actually build an ecosystem when we talk about the RIC environment, to bring in their value into this one. So US in that moment is a very interesting place, both from the commercial, but also from the opportunity to come together to build these integration center. I think even building an OTIC is part of that ambition and the commitment towards that industry.
Okay, maybe we zoom into a little bit in a later phase here in this discussion. Coming back to Reiner on Fujitsu, we know Fujitsu mainly from the RU investment that you are doing, right? In the moment, you are very visible in the market with the RUs, but we know you also have a CUDU. But considering Fujitsu as an RU vendor, it is super important that your RUs interoperate with all the different CUDU solutions, right? So certification from that angle is a cornerstone of what you need to do to become interoperable with all the others. What kind of efforts are you taking to make that a reality on your side?
Maybe to add on that what Jan-Peter already said, currently I even also see that the US is the playground, the sandbox for making ORAN mature for the worldwide market, right? So what we are doing there, currently we are in different labs in the US, especially in the US. We are there in the Orchid lab in Wyoming, for example, we are doing closely together with AT&T, Verizon, and some others, and we see that the MMOs streamline the processes for testing, right? So that they can sort out the kinks they need, right? And out of these, we see that more in automation must be tested, right? To make it stable, mature, how to say, right? And testing in different releases is even also important. That means for life cycle management of different releases, as I mentioned, of individual equipment, and set up the rules for upcoming new releases for the processes you have to set up. And I would say standardization is the key for success here.
I would agree. So we see a lot of things going on in the US, and maybe having you two guys here together, and you are both part of these labs, right? Can you share a little bit of experience, how it runs in Accord, for example, or in the Orchid lab, when it also comes to, let's say, overcome the frenemy kind of relationship everybody has in the Open RAN ecosystem?
So you are talking about AT&T case, which was announced last year in the December month, right? It was in December. And so the whole market, I was astonished about this, I would say. But anyhow, so you must see that AT&T, Ericsson, and Fujitsu has a big footprint there currently, right? So Ericsson, with all their mobile stuff, they have already implemented. Fujitsu, we are coming from a different angle. We have implemented a lot of transport, DWDM, open road and stuff already, which is in their network. Out of this experience, AT&T decided to go with these both partners, right? And so we are on the stage now, in a position right now that we are starting the joint collaboration and doing the testing for integration of these equipment into the environment of AT&T network.
Thank you. Maybe also a quick view from your side, Jan-Peter?
Yeah, I can add on what you said. It's true. I mean, there's a lot. It's highly operational project now. I mean, it is basically, every day meeting milestones, giving deliveries, getting stuff into the test environment. Of course, having a roadmap of updating the product which we deliver in. So it's not a one-time thing. It's a continuous journey now and the next months to come to create exactly these type of products and networks which will be fit for the network then. Yeah, so in a way, it's not a one-stop thing, but it's a continuous journey which has started a while ago and is continuing. And it's, of course, it gives you the focus in the company. I think that's very important. These type of big deliverables create the energy in the companies to deliver because it's a commercial deal.
Maybe to add on these, this is only due to the trust you and we have built up years before that this is now happened, right?
Yeah, but let's not forget the idea of AT&T is not to go single vendor. The idea of it is use single vendor in order to qualify the interfaces and then open up for other vendors. Yeah, and I think we believe this is good. This is the idea of it. And we, as any other vendor, need to and should and wants to compete and create the best products. So you said frenemy. I don't know if it's so much frenemy because we know together this needs to be a multi-vendor play. Yeah. And then we all will manage to develop the market and hopefully not only cut costs in the efficiency, but bring service value to our operators. And that is, I think we should never forget, that's why Open RAN is there. It's not only cost cutting, yes, that's well, efficiency, but it's how do we as an industry create new services, new service value that is monetizable.
Absolutely. And I think the more you guys collaborate, the bigger the ecosystem will be that we can benefit from. So keep fingers crossed that the things on the other side of the Atlantic run well. But let's come back to Germany, to i14y Lab. So beginning of the year, we had the lucky situation of having the first certificates of O-RAN Alliance granted at i14y Lab, and VVDN was in the center of that, right? So Nitin, could you explore a little bit with us how it went for you, what issues you went through, what learnings you took?
Yeah, so it's actually a proud moment for us that we are the first one to get this OTIC certification from i14y Labs in Europe. We went through many ups and downs, and of course we are aware of that these ups and downs are going to come, because when certification comes, there is a lot of interoperability which is required. It is not only your product which should be standardized or which should comply with all the features and functionality. It's more about getting into the network ecosystem, which can actually help the customers or the operators to deploy that system. When we started the radio integration with the ecosystem partners, we need to basically adapt to a lot of APIs, where i14y Lab helped us a lot in defining the test cases and the parameters, which helps us in getting much faster certification, right? What we understood from this process is that if all the ecosystem partners can able to adapt the standards, or the lab like i14y Lab, if they can define the process or the standard parameters and standard feature functionality, it must be much faster, right? So, and helps all the ecosystem players to move faster into the O-RAN space. Today, O-RAN is growing, O-RAN is ramping up, but still at a very slow pace, and operators and ecosystem partners are trying their best to move faster, right? So i14y Lab or other OTIC labs are actually helping the partners to ramp up much faster.
Thank you. We all hope so. Oh, wow. So we have one last question. Maybe we are running a little bit out of time, so if you could limit your answers maybe to a minute or so, that would be appreciated, I guess, by the auditorium, so that we stay in the time. Okay, coming back to you, Jan-Peter. Now, looking a little bit forward, yeah. So Ericsson is investing a lot into a product called EAIP, right, which is building an RAP ecosystem, if I can say so. Now, thinking about RAPs being a little bit more in the future, we are looking still more on RU-DU integration and RAP to come next. How do you see certification will help you in building this ecosystem?
Yeah, so first of all, that is what we're trying. I mean, to offer a developer community by setting up development sandboxes. Partners can subscribe into it through Ericsson.com. You can get a license to get into this ecosystem, to try out your ideas. To have an ecosystem where, I mean, RAPs, it's not only about north-south integration. I mean, these RAPs in the best case need to talk to each other to create this type of function ecosystem. And that is an attempt to offer support for that one, because that is the place where value needs to be created into these networks. We call it API on the core network. We do actually a very similar thing on that side, to open up the networks and then create the developers' interest into this one, which is not that easy. Developers have their own environment. I mean, to attract developers by their app to put their workloads into mobile networks is actually a very complicated thing. Where is the money for them? So they invest into this one. So with these sandboxes, with this developer ecosystem, we try to contribute from our side to make that happen in the future.
Maybe we see that in the future in i14y Lab as well. Let's see. We don't know. So coming back to you, Nitin. So after you had this certification in beginning of the year, and you saw the roadblocks that you could encounter, how do you think you could overcome those roadblocks in the future?
So as I said, that first thing is that certification itself is a brand, right? If your product is certified, it means you can go to any of the OEMs, like we are the engineering house. I can go to any OEMs or the operators and I can say, hey guys, my product is certified. It becomes its own USP, right? So certification itself is a brand. Of course, coming back to your question, that how we can overcome those challenges in the future, as I suggest that if we can have the standard format of test cases, standardized parameters, we can easily adapt, right? Which can help all of us in moving much faster.
Thank you. Let's work on that. So, Reiner, last question for you. Now looking really into the bright future. Okay. Yeah. How do you think you would tweak certification to really become an adopted practice in the industry from Fujitsu's side?
This is an important question. So to add on that what Jan-Peter already said, from my perspective, how to gain success for that, is from my point of view, we did this in the past, we collaborated with universities. And this is what we, from my point of view, my perspective, we could even also do today. I read a report weeks ago that even also such a case is set up already in the Asian market, right, in Philippines, so that they educate students in the university so that they are prepared for the ORAN market and for doing certifications, doing all these testings, and even also because they are coming later or sooner or later into the market and to the MMOs or to the vendors, so that they are a big plus for them and an add-on for the ORAN market, and then even also later for the certification doing there.
Okay. Just a short side advertisement, i14y is for sure a great place to meet with universities for vendors. So be invited to join us here, right? Okay. Okay, I think we are running a little bit over time. Thanks for your patience. I think it was a great session looking into the past, the present and the future of certification, and hope to see more from you guys also in i14y Lab and also across the Atlantic for sure. Thanks for being here today.